So I speak for all gamers when I say the media should stop talking to critics like Anita Sarkeesian.
Well, no. That doesn't begin to approach what I want. I want one thing. If the media wants to talk to Anita about her stupid opinions, I want them to talk to someone who counterbalances it. I find it hard to believe that Anita's had 3 years to try to explain how these sexist games are linked to real-world sexism, and yet she still hasn't. But no gaming journalist sees it fit to call her out on this. We want a non-biased perspective on the subject, not just one voice dictating down to the masses the way it is.
Here now to be talked to is media critic and creator of the web series Feminist Frequency, Anita Sarkeesian. Ms. Sarkeesian, thanks so much for being on here. All right. Look. Let's put this on the line. Okay. Let's call this what it is. You and the other feminazis in the gamer world are coming for our balls to snip them off, put them into a little felt purse, and take them away so we have to play your non-violent games, right?
Again, no. We aren't upset about that. What we are upset about is that if a game developer doesn't fall in line with what these journalists and these so-called progressives want, their game will get blacklisted and refuse coverage. Look at Warhorse Studios, for example. They are very vocal about their support for GamerGate and the end of corruption and collusion in gaming journalism. Therefore, their game has been blacklisted and not talked about at all. This is the kind of stuff we want to put an end to. I know you can't force a journalist to cover anything that they don't want to, but I find it hard to believe that a website that has written articles on how to get that anime-style hair can't make time to talk about an upcoming game that just released its alpha.
No, that's not true.
It's a culture war. It's a subculture war.
There is something going on.
Yes, and what it is a culture war. You may have not said it yourself, but you certainly shared articles talking about this. This is a war on culture that you don't like, and you want to make it appeal to you. My first and only question has always been, who the fuck do you think you are coming in and demanding things being changed the way you like it?
What it is women being harassed and threatened and terrorized.
Yes, because it's only women. No man has ever been threatened or terrorized on the internet. Nah, it's just you. This is the kind of shit that makes people think you're a fucking liar. I myself have been threatened several times while playing games or even just talking online, and some of these threats were credible, and I went to the authorities. King of Pole was doxxed twice and had a knife sent to his home, and the fire department sent there as well. Milo Yiannopoulos had a syringe sent to his home. David Pacman and Total Biscuit also talked about how they've had threats sent to them. The fact of the matter is that there are dicks on the internet, and unless we start policing the internet, which I think is something you want to do, there will always be dicks on the internet. They don't care about your gender, they care about how you react, which the way you react is to run around screaming like a chicken with its head cut off with your wallet open so people can just throw their money in.
After you first attacked male gamers for enjoying looking at big-breasted women with tiny armor that barely covers their nipples.
And I have to ask, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting to play a game with women wearing chainmail bikinis? Nothing. Sure, you may not like it if you're into a more realistic game, and for that I won't blame you. But from this whole it's a sexist thing angle, there's absolutely no substance whatsoever.
What is wrong with that? I like what that looks like. I'm a man, baby. Newsflash.
Right.
I like it.
Well, one of the problems with that is it actually reinforces this cultural myth that women are sexual objects and sexual playthings for male amusement.
What fucking culture is this? Saudi Arabia? China? India? Because it sure as shit isn't any modernized Western society.
And we're not.
We're saving them. They're damsels in distress. I'm saving the princess. Am I supposed to let the princess die? Is that what you want? That's kind of harsh. That's kind of hostile.
Well, maybe the princess shouldn't be a damsel and she could save herself.
That's all fine and dandy. Really it is. But you don't seem to understand that many of these damsel in distress games came out in the 80s and 90s, and were like that because of the limitations of the hardware. Hell, Nintendo's cartridges usually carried less than 10 megabytes of memory. That means you really didn't have room to tell a story. You just had to build something basic and go with it. So what's an easier story to tell? The story of a man saving a woman he loves from the clutches of a turtle dragon guy, or the story of a princess who got captured and found the resolve to escape her kidnapper after taking a gender studies course? I also want to point out that Peach ended up becoming a badass later in the series, after the limitations weren't in the way. But Anita never seems to want to talk about that.
Well, they've got games where... They've got games... I didn't know you brought a posse. Okay.
I'm well liked.
Kind of defeats that whole "I'm a victim, people are trying to kill me" narrative.
All right, all right. So you've been the object of criticism yourself.
Yes.
What happened at Utah State University?
There was a threat that someone emailed to the school saying that they would commit the biggest school shooting, a massacre, if I was allowed to speak.
First off, I want to say that I don't condone this behavior, and I hope the person who sent the email is caught. However, even as the drunken peasant said, all the recent mass shooters who actually killed people didn't alert the place beforehand by saying, "Oh hey, I'm gonna kill ya, I'm gonna kill all ya." They just brought guns to the place and shot it up. I also want to ask, what does this have to do with Gamergate? This is the topic of discussion here, is it not?
But by criticizing these, you say, would you call them male fantasy games or male fantasy objectification of women games?
Here's the deal. I'm going to objectify virtual women, and there's not a thing you can do to stop me. Do you want to know why? It's actually really simple. It's because they're not fucking real. By adding a nude mod here or a sex mod there, a gamer isn't harming anything but his own dick. So why is that a problem? That doesn't mean he's going to go outside and rape or harass a woman.
Some of them, that would be an accurate title, yeah.
Give me some names. Name some names.
So in the work that I do, I look at hundreds of examples of video games,
so
and
can you think of three? Can you think of three?
I can, but I think it's a bigger issue to talk about the industry as a whole and how it perpetuates these ideas of sexism and misogyny, as opposed to just Grand Theft Auto, for example.
And here we come to the infamous Name 3 situation. He gave her a chance to name 3 games, and she only mentioned Grand Theft Auto. A game where everyone is an awful person and you shouldn't see any of them as your role model. And men are just as dispensable as women, sometimes even more so. So because she can't name 3 games that have sexism in them, I've taken the liberty to name a bunch of game series that have strong female characters in them. These are in no particular order. Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, Dead Rising, Sodakin, Wild Arms, Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, Tales series, Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, BlazBlue, Arcana Hearts, Melty Blood, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, King of Fighters, Skullgirls, Dead or Alive, The Banner Saga, Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Brutal Legend, Divinity, Mirror's Edge, Recettear, Saints Row, The Witcher, Batman Arkham series, System Shock, Portal, House of the Dead, Bioshock, Left 4 Dead, Sanctum, League of Legends, Dota, fuck it, any MOBA with a female character in it, Orcs Must Die, XCOM, American McGee's Alice, Borderlands, Castlevania, Toho, Silent Hill, any RPG with a character creator, Sonic, The Transistor, Tomb Raider, Valkyria Chronicles, The Walking Dead, Metal Gear Solid, Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer is Dead, No More Heroes, Bayonetta, Anarchy Reigns, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, The Lost Odyssey, Fire Emblem, Ninja Gaiden, Halo, Gears of War, Devil May Cry, The Last Remnant, Chrono Trigger, Zelda, Super Mario Bros., practically any anime-inspired game such as Gundam, One Piece, or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Mega Man, Phoenix Wright, Disgaea, and of course, Metroid. These are just games I can remember off the top of my head while I was writing this list. If you want to add to the list, leave a comment in the section below.
Why do you think that women are being threatened? Because it's almost entirely women who are being threatened in Gamergate.
Yes.
Not even close.
Chris Cluey has talked about this. He hasn't been threatened. Other men haven't been threatened.
Sorry, Milo Yiannopoulos, Mike Cernovich, King of Pol, and anyone else who has a penis who's been threatened during this situation. You don't exist.
Why do you think women are being threatened in this exchange?
Because the 3 women who have gotten the most heat are antagonizing people who are part of Gamergate. We've said it before and I'll say it again. Anita and Brianna Wu are not part of the GG discussion. They are not important. Not even Zoe Quinn, who was the spark to ignite the flames, is important in this discussion. The constant attempt to refocus the spotlight on them is not coming from Gamergate, it's coming from those who oppose Gamergate.
I think women are perceived as threatening because we are asking for games to be more inclusive.
When 2/3 of the world play games, I think we're inclusive enough. No, what you want to do is make games so lifeless and boring that they'll appeal to you. It's been said before, but if you want to make a game for you, get together a team of developers, I'm sure you of all people could, and make your own game.
We're asking for games to acknowledge that we exist and that we love games.
Why not just have a separate game?
Good question. I'd love to see that get an answer.
Have separate but equal games.
Well,
yes, video games are a race now, but the point still stands. Why fuck with games that are already being made? Why not work towards creating games that you would want?
we do have lots of different kinds of games. And
so what are you complaining about?
Again, a good question. We have tons of different games, so what's the problem?
That's one of the things that I think is happening here, is that we have this wide range of games that we're seeing mobile games, we're seeing indie games, we're seeing this influx of different kinds of games, and that's what GamerGate is responding to.
Where do I see the group of GamerGate supporters complaining about indie and mobile games? Gone Home isn't the only indie game to come out in the last several years, you idiot. I've literally never heard someone say, yeah, I'm in GamerGate to get rid of those indie games, man. Fuck that shit.
They're actually responding to the fact that we're saying gaming can no longer be this little boys club anymore. That
I know women in the Western world who subscribe to this brand of brain-dead feminism love to think they're a minority, therefore they're oppressed, but when 2/3 of the fucking planet play games, it's not a boys club.
there are many of us who have been playing games many of us women who have been playing our games our whole lives.
Yes, and you're not one of them. You've said so yourself.
And so they're lashing out because we're challenging the status quo of gaming as a male-dominated space.
Well, okay, can't they have their own? Thank you. Do you hear the applause for the idea of a male-dominated space? What about the accusations of collusion between designers, feminists, and journalists?
Wow, he actually got to the point of Gamergate. Let's see where this goes.
Do you understand how important it is? We are talking about ethics in gamer journalism. Do you understand how huge that is? I mean, what if there was no ethics in Hollywood journalism?
So your opinion is it doesn't matter, why even try? Ian Miles Chong would agree with you on that, I suppose. However, I do care about all forms of journalism, and I'm trying to work towards making all forms of journalism not as non-corrupt as possible. I guess it's just where I differ with you, Stephen.
If we can't trust Entertainment Tonight or TMZ, where would we be? Is that what you want for gamer journalism?
I think that that is a sort of compelling way to reframe the fact that this is actually attacks on women. Like, game ethics in journalism is not what's happening in any way.
You're right. So IGN, The Escapist, Game Informer, Destructoid, and even a little bit of Kotaku have all changed their ethics policies for no reason. It has nothing to do with Gamergate whatsoever.
It's actually men going after women in really hostile, aggressive ways. That's what Gamergate is about. It's about like terrorizing women for being involved in this industry, for being involved in this hobby.
No, we don't care about women in the industry. Some of the most influential people in gaming history were women. Amy Hennig, Manami Masume, and Roberta Williams are three I can think of that were huge influences on gaming. No, Gamergate isn't about you. Though some of us would admittedly like to remove those that don't play games from the conversation about what's right and wrong about games.
This is a little bit off subject, but I ask something. As a man, am I allowed to be a feminist?
As long as you keep your mouth shut and when they say jump, you ask how high.
Do you believe that women should have equal rights to men and that
Sure.
we should fight for those rights?
Sure.
Yes, and I'd say that 99% of Gamergate would agree that in places like the Middle East and Asia, we are more than willing to say yes, fight for your rights for equality.
Great, then you're a feminist.
Wait, how can I be a feminist and be attacking women at the same time?